As our teams continue to work with Service Australia, assessing the data, there will be further insights to explore. But we will need to change the way we infer some existing performance measures, such as average daily subsidy, as now respite residents, just as permanent ones, have a care minute requirement associated with their AN-ACC classifications. Therefore, the new ADS will become an important consideration in the overall operating result of your services. Now, beyond respite, we now must also consider the effect different facility types have on an industry average of our subsidies. There is a significant group of beds that qualify to receive the homelessness base care tariff, who now have an ADS of about $300 a day, as well as the modified Monash 7 group, which has an average ADS of over $500 a day. Now, over the November period, the industry's ADS for permanent residents increased by 54 cents to $2.21. Now, the Department of Health's predicted 225 average daily subsidy, which was derived the widely discussed 200 care minute requirement average, it fell short by $6 a day, which means Treasury is about $226 million better off. But what this really tells us is that the sector is still gathering an understanding of how to manage the new funding model of AN-ACC. Now, the AN-ACC reclassifications dropped over the November period to only 2.24% of consumers being assessed, which is the lowest point over the past year. This has pushed out the total amount of permanent residents with an AN-ACC assessment of 12 months of age or older to 38% across the sector. Now, as AN-ACC is an algorithm which assigns a funding class to your consumer through the inputs of your contracted AMO or assessment management organization and their independent assessment on that resident, the challenge for providers will be to accurately forecast classes so their financial teams can forward plan sustainable and compliant operations. So the challenge providers now face is that they've been given a speed limit without a speedometer. Now, since AN-ACC isn't as intuitive as the previous funding models, plus we now have a consideration of a care minute requirement with every assigned AN-ACC funding class, the instrument requires providers to consider the impact of each classification change and the impact on total funding and the required care minutes. So top-line income is no longer the key outcome for success with AN-ACC. Why? Well, if you cannot sustain the level of staffing as required by your assigned case mix classes, then you will be paying more per minute of care in the form of penalty rates, overtime, and agency minutes to meet those care minute requirements. Therefore, under AN-ACC, sustainable and compliant operations will be the key to success. And so for the month of November, the leading average class for AN-ACC was a Class 5, an assisted mobility consumer with high cognitive function and with compounding factors. And over November, we did see occupancy levels continue a positive trend upwards, increasing and landing around just under 87% of occupied bed days throughout the November period. Now, as each AN-ACC class attract a care minute obligation for the providers to evidence as assigned by their resident AN-ACC and respite classes, we can now start reporting the industry's case mix requirements alongside our workforce data. Now, with the lower than expected average daily subsidy and the refined RVU weighting, which was based on that estimate of $225 ADS, which gave us the industry average of 200 care minutes per resident across the sector. Now, the November period saw the total average case mix requirement hit 196.14 minutes per resident, which saw RN requirements of just under 40 minutes per resident per day. Now, when compared to the sector's workforce data that we monitor, we saw a pickup of our clients' data of total care minutes worked across November of 1.5%. However, the RN minutes retracted just over 1.76%. And the standout for the month was a jump of 23% of the allied health time worked on a per resident per day basis. From all of us at Mirus, we wish you a wonderful holiday season and looking forward to a positive 2023.